All right, so get ready to dive into Maverick V2. They say it's going to be a serious upgrade for DeFi. Think like programmable pools and even AI-powered optimization. And get this, there are tools that could let you launch a token with built-in governance and incentives all ready to go. So we're breaking down a recent interview with Bob Baxley. He's a core contributor to Maverick Protocol, and he talked about it all on the DeFi Dad channel. We'll get to the good stuff. No need to watch the whole thing. Consider it your Maverick V2 cheat sheet.
It's interesting. Maverick V2 isn't just trying to be a better AMM. It wants to be like the foundation for a whole wave of DeFi applications.
Right. They're calling it a liquidity operating system. So before we get too sci-fi, let's break that down. Maverick V1 already changed things up. It let LPs concentrate their capital around specific price ranges. So what's V2 adding to that?
Well, think of an operating system like Windows or iOS. It's the platform, right? It lets you run all sorts of applications. Maverick V2 wants to be that platform for building, all sorts of different liquidity mechanisms.
Okay. So it's less about swapping tokens directly and more about giving developers tools to build their own solutions on top of it. What are some of the core features that make that possible?
One of the biggest is low gas fees.
Yeah.
Bob actually mentioned in the interview that this was like a key goal from the start.
Yeah, lower gas fees. Everyone wins, right?
Exactly. Swaps are cheaper.
Yeah.
And liquidity providers see more volume going through their pools.
Makes sense. Aggregators are always looking for the cheapest routes. So that's a big win for Maverick V2 LPs. But what about this programmable part? How much control are we talking about here?
This is where it gets really interesting. We're talking about the ability to actually code custom logic into liquidity pools.
Okay.
Like imagine single-sided liquidity provision. You just deposit one asset. Or directional fees where you could set different fees for buying versus selling.
Oh, wait, directional fees. So I could create a pool where it costs more to sell than to buy. Isn't that kind of manipulative?
That's a great question. And it does get into some of the risks that come with this kind of flexibility. Bob actually addressed it in the interview. He said, "We believe in giving users powerful tools, but with that comes responsibility." He emphasized governance and community oversight to prevent, strategies that are exploitative.
So it's like giving everyone a set of power tools. You can build amazing things, but you can also really hurt yourself.
Exactly.
If you're not careful.
Right. But think about the upsides. A meme coin project could build in sell pressure to stop people from just dumping.
Oh, okay.
Or you could create a pool. That essentially dollar cost averages into ETH by making it more expensive to sell.
Just so everyone's on the same page, dollar cost averaging is an investment strategy where you buy the same amount of an asset, at regular intervals, doesn't matter what the price is. This helps to even out volatility and can lower your average cost. So are you saying Maverick V2 could automate that within a pool?
That's the idea. And it gets even wilder with dynamic fees. Those fees adjust based on all kinds of conditions. Imagine a pool that automatically lowers fees when volume is low to bring in more trades.
Oh, interesting.
Or raises them during times when the market's volatile.
So we're basically talking about smart contracts that can react to market conditions in real time.
Yeah.
That's pretty mind-blowing. But we can't forget about real-world assets. How does Maverick V2 plan to connect DeFi with traditional finance?
They're bringing in KYC pools. These integrate with, existing KYC and AML solutions.
Oh, okay.
This could open up a whole new world for tokenized real-world assets, things like real estate or stocks.
That's a huge step toward mainstream adoption. They've really thought of everything, haven't they? But there's one more piece I can't ignore, AI. Bob has a background in AI, and Maverick V2 seems to be using a lot. But what does AI actually mean in this context?
It's not about, robots taking over DeFi. Bob said, AI for us is about building smarter algorithms. Algorithms that optimize liquidity, manage risk, and even, personalize the user experience.
Okay, so less about sentient machines and more about using AI to make the system smarter and more efficient. But how does that translate into, real-world applications?
Imagine, instead of manually adjusting your liquidity, an AI model is learning from past data, and then it automatically optimizes your positions based on market changes.
So it's like having a super sophisticated liquidity manager working for you 24/7.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's impressive. But is this something that only, expert traders will be able to access?
That's where the V-Token factory comes in.
I'm definitely getting a... But wait, there's more vibe here. We'll need a whole other segment to unpack that one.
Absolutely. Get ready for the V-Token factory. It's going to be fascinating.
We'll be right back after a quick break. Okay, so before the break, we were about to get into this V token factory. It sounds kind of like a Willy Wonka movie, but for DeFi tokens.
Yeah, it's not quite a chocolate river,
Yep.
but it's pretty amazing for anyone who wants to launch a token. So basically, it lets you create a V token model, similar to what you see with like Curve or GMX. But you don't have to build the whole thing from scratch.
So instead of needing a bunch of devs to code up a whole system,
Hmm.
for governance and incentives, projects can just use the V token factory and boom, instant V token.
Exactly. It makes these sophisticated tokenomics models a lot more accessible, and that has some really interesting implications.
Like what?
Well, it creates what Bob called a flywheel effect, this self-reinforcing loop. People stake their tokens, they get V tokens, that gives them governance rights and maybe boosts their earnings, and then that increases demand for the token, which encourages more people to stake, and it just keeps going.
Sounds great in theory. But doesn't any new token emission create, like, some level of inflation? How does Maverick V2 deal with that?
That's a super important point. The key is how those new emissions are distributed. In Maverick V2, they're tied to actual value being brought into the protocol. It's not just inflationary fluff, it's a reward for active participation. Bob used the analogy of like a mining operation. You're rewarded for the work you put in, not just for holding the token.
So it's less about just speculation and more about actually building a sustainable ecosystem where incentives are aligned with long-term value.
Got it. But can you give me a real-world example? How would this work for, say, a new project launching on Farcaster?
Okay, let's say a bunch of developers on Farcaster create a meme coin. They mint the coin and use Maverick V2's V token factory. And instantly, they've got a V token model set up. People who want to be involved in governance
Oh.
can stake their meme coins and get V tokens in return.
Okay, that's the basic V token model. What's the Maverick twist?
Well, the V token factory lets projects connect extra incentives to the V token. So imagine you could get boosted rewards for providing liquidity to a certain pool just by holding the V token. So holding the V token gives you voting rights, and it can also unlock extra earnings, all tied to actively supporting the protocol.
That's pretty smart. It encourages users to actually participate, not just hold the token.
Exactly. It's a win-win for the project and the community. The meme coin gains legitimacy and long-term holders, and the users are rewarded for contributing to its growth. Bob actually talked about this. He said, "We see the V token factory as a way to empower communities, to bootstrap their own economies aligned around shared goals."
Okay, now starting to see the bigger picture. You've got the programmable pools. Those let us create custom AMM logic. And the incredibly low gas fees, which bring in all that trading volume. And then there's the V-token factory. So anyone can launch a token with, sophisticated governance and incentives built in. It's like they're creating a whole new DeFi toolkit.
That's a great way to put it. And when you add the potential of AI to optimize everything, it feels like we're on the edge of something huge. Don't get me too excited. We talked about how AI can optimize liquidity and even create personalized experiences, but that's still a bit abstract. Can you give me some concrete examples? How could AI actually be used in Maverick V2?
Okay, well, think about risk management. One of the challenges with programmable pools is making sure they're not used for exploitative or unfair strategies. Bob talked about how AI could act like a smart guardian. AI models could analyze pool parameters and flag any that seem, potentially malicious or risky.
So it's like an AI security guard patrolling the DeFi landscape.
Exactly, but it goes beyond security. AI could help optimize the whole system. From setting fees dynamically to finding arbitrage opportunities, imagine an AI that can predict which assets are about to pump and then automatically adjust pool parameters to take advantage.
That sounds almost too good to be true. But wouldn't that give an unfair advantage to the people who have access to the most sophisticated AI models?
That's a valid concern. And it's something the Maverick team is definitely thinking about. One idea Bob mentioned was an open source library of AI models. Anyone could access and contribute to it. This would help, democratize access to those tools and prevent a situation where only a few players have all the advantages.
That's really interesting. It's like open sourcing the future of DeFi.
Exactly. It's about making sure everyone has the chance to participate in this new wave of innovation.
Okay, I'm starting to get a little overwhelmed here. We've covered programmable pools, low gas fees, the V token factory, AI. It's a lot. So for our listeners who are new to DeFi or maybe just feeling lost, what are the key takeaways they should remember about Maverick V2?
I'd say the most important thing is that Maverick V2 isn't just another AMM. It's a platform that's really pushing the limits. of what's possible with, on-chain liquidity. It's giving developers the tools to build totally new DeFi primitives, and it's letting users participate in ways we've never seen before.
It's like they're building the infrastructure for like DeFi 2.0.
Exactly. And there's still a lot of unknowns and potential challenges.
Yeah.
But the possibilities are really exciting.
All right, so we've covered a lot, but there's one last big question I want to address. Okay, so we've talked about all these features, but as AI gets more integrated into DeFi, how will it change how we use these protocols? What new things might be possible?
That's the big question, right? We're still in the early days.
Yeah.
But I think AI could make DeFi even more accessible, more efficient, maybe even, dare I say, fun.
Fun. Okay, tell me more.
Bob actually talked about this. Imagine like AI-powered interfaces that guide you through these complicated strategies, almost like a financial advisor right there in your pocket. Or think about, gamified DeFi experiences where you're competing with other AI agents to optimize your portfolio.
So it's less about like staring at charts all day and more about interacting with DeFi in a way that's almost like a game.
Exactly. AI could help take away some of that complexity. That can be a bit intimidating, especially for newcomers. And who knows, maybe we'll see AI-powered DAOs making governance decisions based on, live market data.
Yeah.
And even community sentiment.
That's a whole other topic we could explore. But for our listeners, if they're thinking, Maverick V2 sounds cool, but what does it mean for me?
Yeah.
What would you say?
I'd say, whether you're a DeFi expert or just starting out, Maverick V2 is something to pay attention to. It could change everything, from launching tokens to liquidity strategies, and it's designed to benefit both developers and users. If you're interested in the future of DeFi, Maverick V2 is a sign that things are about to get really interesting.
And if you want to learn even more, check out the full DeFi Dad interview with Bob Baxley. We'll have the link in the show notes. But even if you don't have time for the whole thing, I think we've given you a good overview of why Maverick V2 is getting so much attention.
Definitely. It's pushing the limits of what's possible with on-chain liquidity. And it's making us rethink how we interact with DeFi. It's an exciting time to be in this space, that's for sure.
Well, thanks for joining us for this deep dive into Maverick V2. We hope you found it helpful. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep pushing the boundaries of what's possible in DeFi.